You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Monday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. If you're watching, there's a couple things that you will or will not notice. Number one, our trusty new little back rope light decided it doesn't work anymore. But more importantly, for those of you who are watching, you can check out, and finally, maybe we'll have some people that are not angry about what I'm wearing, or maybe you will be. Maybe that's just how it's going to go. I'm wearing a brand new Michigan shirt here, courtesy of Home Field. They've got a new Michigan collection that is coming out sometime, I think, late this week. Not really sure. They put a preview up, but they were kind enough to send me some new merch. The other shirt I probably will wear. I have the other shirt. I don't know. But my problem is I outdid myself at Disney, which means clothes do not fit. I am also, believe it or not, as someone who is under the weather often, I'm under the weather. Now, I came back from Disney and I was dying. I think lack of sleep for 3 days. Flight that got pushed back. I didn't get home until super late. I ate like a cookie every meal from Gideon's Bakehouse. And my body's been rebelling against me. It's not going to stop us from doing a podcast today. But what it is going to do is make it feel like I have razor blades in my throat. So pray for me. This is we'll be able to get through this just fine. We're going to do the mailbag today. My intention was to do it on Saturday, and then I was going to push it to Sunday. And Saturday I was still just not feeling up to snuff, and then Sunday it was just running around, and then even today trying to get a house, y'all. That's hopefully in process. I'm waiting on a text any minute. So anyway, let's get to the mailbag. Let's start with our leaders and best. It's a light mailbag. It's kind of perfect for coming back. So we'll bookend the weeks with mailbags, one on Monday and one on Friday. But starting with James Crudup at James Crudup 6, did you hear anything about the Zach Ludwig commitment? Have you heard anything about him as a player? Not very much. I know that it was kind of like he is a scholarship player. He's like a family friend of Ben Herbert. And so Jim Harbaugh kind of did it as a personal favor, not exactly like a high-flying recruit. That's about all I know. I haven't looked at any film or anything like that. That all went down, or at least it was discovered when I was preparing to get down to Orlando. But it does seem like it's kind of a flyer type of thing. But hey, if Ben Herbert's still around, that's where it all starts. And if he feels like he can turn him into a monster, cool. I mean, Michigan's had some good ones and bad ones that have been of that variety. Some guys who have turned out, whether they were like a lower 3-star, Kwity Paye type, Ronnie Bell. I don't think this is it. We'll have to see how he plays out. Hopefully he doesn't end up being like a Gage Garcia. I mean, he's from Pennsylvania as well. So of course, Zuri wants all the attention now that I'm starting a podcast. I'm sure you can hear her doing her thing. Shaking and bacon. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got about Zach Ludwig. Josh Barr at Jadicki, what odds do you give the basketball team of going on a strong enough run to make the tournament? Well, you asked this question on Friday, and of course they led for 34 minutes against Indiana and then lost the game. It was about as ridiculous as they've been, right? Like they finally were getting some momentum, 4 games in a row, kind of felt like they were making their way, but you need those big ranked opponent wins. Now they've played 4 ranked opponents. I don't believe they've lost by more than 5, but the fact that they led the game all the way through and then went on a 5-minute scoring drought and couldn't get anything going. I mean, I'd pretty much written my article as Michigan has won the game. Really felt that way, and Indiana just kind of kept into it. They're going to have to pretty much, I don't want to say win out. They're going to need that to probably sweep Wisconsin. They're going to need to beat Indiana when they go to Bloomington. They're going to need to beat Michigan State. and then they're going to have to at least make it kind of into the better part of the Big Ten tournament. It's not a fun year for Michigan basketball. Jimmy Whitner at Jimmy Whitner1, your thoughts on playing Texas next year, as in 2024. That game is going to now be a home game. I'm stoked. That's coming up sooner than you think, right? When you think that this is my 9th season I'm about to be covering Michigan football. See, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, 9th season. Being 2 years away, that goes by in a flash, so that's exciting. Number 2, your thoughts on who will be RB number 3. I mean, I think it's going to be CJ Stokes. And remember, guys make a big jump from year 1 to year 2. I know I say that a ton. I mean, even Blake Corum. Blake Corum was like okay in his freshman year and then came out and looked amazing right out of the gates in year 2. Guys tend to make that big jump from year 1 to year 2. And we saw like flashes, right? That was what you wanted. I mean, everyone was excited about him. Before the fumble against Maryland, he sat down for a while. But yeah, I definitely think CJ Stokes is going to be the guy. Wouldn't be surprised if, another guy really stepped up because, that happens too. But I mean, if I was to bet on it, I would make CJ Stokes being RB3 behind Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. KRT at Farmerk84. If JJ has a great year, do you think he's off to the NFL, or do you think odds are decent that he comes back for his senior year? All right, we are continuing. Had to take a quick break. So if you're watching the video, it might look weird. It depends with JJ, like what, if he has like a Joe Burrow year, but he strikes me as the type of guy that just absolutely loves Michigan. And I think he would look at it as an honor to play for 4 years. Now, if he has like a Joe Burrow year and just goes nuts, things can change in a hurry. So he certainly could suddenly decide, hey, this is my shot. I should go do it. But I think it depends heavily on what kind of year he has. And that would require Michigan to open up the pass game, I think, in a big way as well. All right, where are we now that... All right, finishing us out with Jonathan Joseph at JJoseph2156. Going to Disneyland Paris in March. My question is, are you jealous? I very much am, although they don't have a ton of stuff that I'm like clamoring to ride that I haven't. I think it's they have a different like haunted mansion that I'm interested in. So that would be it. Anyhow, all right, let's go ahead and move on, and we'll do that here momentarily. Before we do, as a small business owner or hiring manager, you know that success in 2023 all depends on the team members you surround yourself with. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. With LinkedIn Jobs, you can hire qualified candidates more efficiently by matching open roles with people who have the skills, values, and experiences to help you achieve your goals. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract qualified candidates to your open jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond resume data by using insights from your job posts and company and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. Identify the most qualified candidates on LinkedIn Jobs and connect with them fast and for free. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easy to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications all in one platform. Now, just like Michigan needed to go and get the right team member to help them get to the Big Ten championship, beat Ohio State, all of that stuff, you need to find the right team member. And LinkedIn Jobs is going to help you do that. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, we are breezing it on through. We're going to continue. Let's start with Jim at Jim in the North I'm just going to give this an honorable mention, and I tried to decipher if this was code, if he started to type something and backed out. I don't know, but it says, can't PHB1 broke. I don't know if that's a Seymour Butts type scenario, or any of the other Bart Simpson to Mo Sizlak type things, and I'm just missing it. But I don't get it. But I wanted to make sure that he was in there, because he always leads us off in the Victor's Valiant. Anton says, Smita Mangala at Smita Mangala. Did you manage to get in the virtual queue for Guardians? How was Tron? Also, where do you like to stay when you go to Disney World, on property or no? So I did both. I rode Guardians 3 times, virtual queue once, Lightning Lane paid for 2 other times, and that is right up there with Flight of Passage for me. I thought that was the most joyful roller coaster experience ever. And I think it's right behind Steel Vengeance as being my favorite roller coaster. It might be tied with X2 at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I mean, it's just a different thing. It's everything Space Mountain was supposed to be. And with that in mind, so is TRON. I did ride TRON 6 times, thanks to Luke DeMello. Again, I appreciate Luke for not only getting me in with the cast member preview, but also hanging with me. We did Magic Kingdom together. Well, we did Disney Springs. He picked me up from the airport. We did Disney Springs. We did Flight of Passage, and then we went to Magic Kingdom. And then he came with me to Epcot the next day. Well, he met me up there. I couldn't get us on the same page on the My Disney Experience app, so I rode Guardians on my own. Then we rode it together in the Lightning Lane, and then he rode it alone because my virtual queue was in the first group. It was number 8, and he was like 99. TRON was really cool. It's just really short. It's really cool, though. Let's see. What else did you ask? Where do I like to stay? I try to stay someplace different, and I try to do it on property. I love on property. I was talking to my girlfriend about it yesterday. She's like, I would never stay on property. And I'm like, well, I mean, I think if you had the right thing, we were trying to talk about going and staying in a villa. So that way we could, have the kids in the separate bedrooms and for everybody involved at Animal Kingdom Lodge. It didn't work out that way, but I like to stay on property. So far, my favorite that I've stayed at, and I've only stayed at a couple places: Pop Century, Coronado Springs, Port Orleans, Riverside, and now the Contemporary. And I would rank them. Well, I've stayed at the campground when I was little. I'm not going to rank the campground because it's a campground, and I don't remember it. I was 8. I'm going to rank them as such. Coronado Springs is the clear-cut number 1. Then I'm going to go with Port Orleans. Then I'll go with the Contemporary. And then I'll go with Pop Century. So, I walked through the beach resort, and that was really cool. But yeah, that's it. We'll have to have John Jansen on so that he can rank his. He's a big Disney guy. And we've talked about Disney a lot, and he'll tell you all the favorite resorts. So maybe we'll try to do that this week or next or something like that. We'll talk football, we'll talk Disney, we'll get all of that. Kyle B at KB Go Blue, do you foresee any more coaching changes before spring ball? I mean, one coach has got to leave. I think we all kind of know who that is. I've continued to reach out and be like, hey, what's the deal? And get nothing, which again is always the sign of absolutely. Let me put it this way. Whenever I've reached out and said, is this happening? And it wasn't happening, I get a text right back. Hasn't happened with this. And there's been multiple texts put out. Mark Z at Mark Zemke, how do you foresee Jay Harbaugh's career path looking over the next 2, 5, and 10 years? I think 10 years he'll be a head coach at a major Power 5 program. 2 years, I think he'll still be at Michigan. I wouldn't be surprised if he coaches another position at some point. 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised to see him be a coordinator somewhere. It could be at the NFL, too. He's just so good. Everything he's done is gold. Gotten in those arguments. I remember getting those arguments with other Michigan people that aren't with the program but close to the program, and they were like, oh, he's awful. I'm like, what are you talking about? Running backs are bad. What do you mean the running backs are bad? Michigan just had its first 1,000-yard rusher since Fitz Toussaint. Oh, running backs are bad. They are not bad. Karan Higdon was a 3-star recruit. And suddenly he's like unstoppable. It was good. Was it as good as old school Michigan? No, but he turned it into something great, and it continues to pay dividends. Head recruiter for Blake Corum. Among the head recruiters for Donovan Edwards. When Donovan Edwards was not looking to go to Michigan, Jay Harbaugh stepped in. and turned things around. It was him that turned things around. Ike Hamlin at Hamstand 87. Do anyone other than rival fans use the Walmart Wolverine insult? Actual question, how much of an upgrade is Partridge to the recruiting department? Well, the Walmart Wolverine thing is ridiculous because college football, I mean, the fans in the stands aren't all alums at any school. That fan base you are talking about that primarily does that is MSU. Ohio State can't use it because most of their fan base didn't go to Ohio State. And with MSU, it's funny how I've heard them call Walmart Wolverines Michigan fans that didn't go to school, and I've heard MSU fans that didn't go to MSU say that, and it's just kind of like, really? All right. It's just ridiculous. And as far as Partridge and recruiting, I mean, he was Michigan's best recruiter in his tenure, so it's huge. He's back. He knows how to recruit Michigan. He knows how to do it well. So it's about as big as it can be. Adam Kasel at Adam_Kasel. How does the Tron ride rate? And apologies to anyone who doesn't love Disney. How does the Tron ride rate in comparison to your other favorite rides at Disney? It's up there. What it does is it gives an added dimension to Magic Kingdom that doesn't exist as of currently. And I didn't really realize that it relatively needed something until I went to Disneyland. And then you're there and you can go to Galaxy's Edge. You can go do Rise of the Resistance in the Magic Kingdom. Didn't have that, at World. So the best you could get was Big Thunder Mountain, which I rode twice and actually had a blast on riding in the back row. Or Space Mountain, which I will never ride again because it hurts my back. And I don't need any help with that, and it loves to add to it. Mine Train is okay. So it's the best thing outside of Haunted Mansion and Pirates at the Magic Kingdom. Different ride, of course. And it's suddenly a feature. And while I think it's probably the worst of the 4 rides that I would say are features in the parks at Magic Kingdom or at Disney World, it's still really good. It's not like a bad 4th. But it is running 4th behind my tie of Flight of Passage and Guardians. And then I put Rise of the Resistance right behind that. As far as your next questions, does Michigan make the NCAA tournament this year? I'm going to say no. I think there'll be an IT mound. Does Jet come back next year? I think he has to, but, weirder things have happened. And what do you think Chris Partridge's position will be announced? I don't know. I'm surprised it hasn't been announced yet. Maybe they'll just mention it in spring. I don't think they're going to send out a press conference or anything. James Kovalevsky at Coach_Kovo. Any idea where Michigan ranks in terms of keeping key players out of the portal? Pretty high nowadays. Compared to what it was a couple years ago, where they were just always afraid of losing guys to the portal, and then they would lose them anyway. Outside of Abioki, last 2 years, when was the last time Michigan lost a guy? You can add Taylor Upshaw to that, but when's the last time Michigan lost a guy it really didn't want to lose? Some of the guys that they lost, they weren't exactly heartbroken over. So they've done a pretty good job of retaining the guys that they want to retain. There are advantages to 3 stars that will stay in the program and develop, supplemented with quality transfers, right? Absolutely, because, especially if those 3 stars are not just guys that they're taking a flyer on, and if they're guys that they're like, yeah, this is a guy that we think is much better than his recruitment, a la Rod Moore, Opposite of A&M, that lost much of their mega class to the portal after the season, 100%. All right, we're going to speed this along just because I need to. Barry Mitchell at Barry Mitchell 08 of the 3 and up and coming interior defensive linemen, Benny, Graham, and Grant, which will have the biggest leap from last year to this year? I think it's going to be Mason Graham. I want to say Grant just because he was pretty good, but it wasn't jumping off the page, and I think he has that possibility. So since those are my 2 picks out of the 3, it's going to be Rayshon Benny because that's how this always works for me. But Mason Graham, I think, is just scratching the surface. I think he's going to be an All-American. All 3 have that possibility, but I think if you were to bet, Mason Graham would be the All-American. Finishing us out in segment 2, Brett Byer at Brett Byer 6. What are your feelings about the wide receivers next season, especially regarding Clemens and Morris? Show me. Just show me. Now, usually you don't see a ton of production from wide receivers in year one unless they're otherworldly. I mean, heck, even Devontae Smith wasn't Devontae Smith in year one. Jerry Jeudy wasn't Jerry Jeudy in year one. Sometimes these guys are, right? Xavier Worthy came out in year one, looked amazing. And I know that's salt in the wound, but, but show me. Clemens balled out in the spring game, but didn't get much action during the season, whereas Morris had more production. Do you think either or both of them will have significant contributions? I think they need to, but I also want to see Cornelius really establish himself as a number one. I want to see Roman Wilson become that Devontae Smith Jr. I think he can be. And, I mean, they could have that Alabama wide receiving core with some of these guys. I think that they have that type of talent. It's just, and they have a guy that can get them the ball. It's just Michigan deciding that's going to utilize it. He continued, and make up for the loss of Ronnie Bell and Andrell Anthony. Ronnie Bell's going to be a hard one to make up for because he was just so consistent at getting open and making plays. But I think that they have those guys. And I think that those guys are underrated, and we just haven't seen them a lot yet. But again, show me. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a minute. The last segment. So stay tuned for that. Before we do. Looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all of the fat and calories, and you got to try a Built Bar. I wish they had them at Disney because I did not. I had all the fat and calories. We just got through the holidays. I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. Ha! If you're like me and you want to eat healthier, but don't want to compromise taste, then man, I've got just the thing for you. You've got to try Built. With Built, healthy is actually tasty. Seriously, they're so delicious, you won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they're healthy. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait around to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering your Built Bars at Built.com. Now you can get them at Walmart or at Sam's Club. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in, grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later. All right, let's finish out strong here. I'm not feeling strong. I'm feeling the brunt of all of my choices a week ago at this time. Probably being at a place that's just filled with a bunch of disease-ridden youngsters probably did not help the old immune system, which has been a struggle bus for the last decade anyway. All right, we're going to continue on. We've got about 6 questions left. And we're going to finish out with start off with another Disney kind of question. Cliff Washburn at Double Neves. Which Disney World characters are J.J. McCarthy and Will Johnson? That's a hard one. That is a hard one. I'm going to say that, and these are going to be bad comparisons, I'm going to give J.J. McCarthy Aladdin because he's just kind of like, he's a nice guy, but it'll also rip your heart out a little bit, you know? Like, he's a thief. He's out on the streets and doing stuff, but he's still, you know, even when he's down on his luck, he's up with the cheer. Will Johnson, I'm going to say, this one's a little bit harder. And I feel like I need to go more modern with it. And it's hard because I'm trying to associate rides and they don't necessarily corroborate here. Will Johnson would be... I'm going to have to pass. I'll come back to it. I'm going to come back to it. By the way, you had great weather down here for Disney. It was like 80 degrees the first 2 days and 85. And it's been beautiful here since I got back. It was 45 and sunny, and I took the dog by Zuri for a walk by the house that I'm hoping we can move to. If everything goes to plan, if we don't get outbid and all of that. But yeah. All right. The Will Johnson Disney character. I got to get back to it. It's going to drive me absolutely insane. Because there has to be someone that like who's the cool guy? Kind of like the one family in Encanto. The kid who like he's like the kid who can talk with animals. He gets his gift in the movie. I don't know why. He's just cool, and that's what I got. It's lame. Powell Perng. Yeah. Hopefully I got that right. MD at P Perng. Update on Weiss. Well, Angelique Shingelis had an update saying that what the computer access crimes were him accessing other people's accounts. We kind of surmised that. He was supposed to have a meeting with the athletic department brass, didn't show up, and they took that as an implicit admission of guilt and said, bye. So, I don't know what more we'll know, but that's that. Trent Waller at Wolverback. Why hasn't Michigan put in a base salary system with NIL? Players are great, see quorum. They can earn more. That's what they're working on. That's what they are trying to do. It just hasn't happened yet. That is what they are actively working on. JJ Brewer at JJ Brewer 19. What is the ceiling of this team's receiver room? I mean, I know I answered that already. Not quite Alabama 2020, but I think it can be like just a step below that. It has that capability. It's just a matter of Michigan opting to pass the ball and guys making plays all the time instead of being inconsistent. But I think you've got speed, you've got size, you've got a little bit of everything, and I think that they can do it all. Daniel T. Gross at Daniel T. Gross 2. When is the rest of the college nation going to wake up? I don't know what that means. Greg Paul Lewis finishing us out. G13 Lewis. Do you think we could have do you think we could have 2 1,000-yard rushers? Absolutely. I predict that. I mean, Donovan was relatively close last year. Blake obviously got there. I think that they will. I think that it's going to be I think you're not going to necessarily run Blake 30 times when you have Donovan Edwards raring to go unless there's an injury. So, there you go. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We will be back. I don't know what we're going to talk about on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, but on Friday, we'll have another mailbag. Thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.